Hello, everybody, and welcome into another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric, and I will be your host for this evening, where we will be reviewing Red Rooms. John, this is a Shudder. I don't know where it came from, but we found it on Shudder.
It is on Shudder.
First up, welcome back from the bucolic Pacific Northwest. Please welcome Ariel to the show.
Hello.
Next up, from the corn-filled Midwestern United States, please welcome Casey to the show.
Hello from the
Our flyover correspondent.
From the corn cob jungle.
That's right. And last up tonight, from the concrete jungle, Manhattan, New York City, please welcome John Schnars to the show.
We got concrete on concrete around here.
That's right. I'm really pumped because here in upstate, John, it's been raining, and so the snow has been disappearing.
It was pouring here today, like scary pouring, like where you're like, oh, that seems bad, but
which is good because my seasonal depression is about to take me. Just take me. So
we've had some good days. There was some sunshine the other day. Did you guys not get that?
I'm not snapping out of it till it's in the 60s on the regular basis. So
all right, fair.
May.
I ran
short
sleeves and shorts today.
Wow.
Look at this guy.
It was like 50.
Do you run all winter?
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to. I'm not built that way anymore, John.
You got to get good tights. That's my thing. The upper body, there's plenty of things for the upper body, but you need...
I used to just run in shorts down to like 20. Didn't faze me. As long as my upper body was warm, I was fine.
I draw the line at like 25, 30 these days for shorts. And then I just switch to the tights, and I can get down to like 10. 10 is where I start to get a little...
You got a picture of you in these tights, John?
I could probably dig something up.
Love it.
I don't know.
All right, so let's take a quick break and discuss Red Rooms.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. From the prime time. Main feature.
I got a curveball here. Casey, I want to pose... Well, actually, we're going to do word of the day first, and then I have a technical internet question for you.
Uh-oh.
But it doesn't make sense before John does his word. So, John, please bring us the word of the day.
Eric, today's word is Tor, as in the Tor network. That's T-O-R. We helpfully got a little bit of an explainer on Tor, and I can tell you that it stands for the Onion Network.
Which I didn't know, and I learned.
Yeah, well,
I had heard of it, but I didn't know that's what it was called.
I feel like I had maybe read that at some... Like, when they said that, I was like, ah, yeah, Onion. But then, no, you're right. Like, it was a bit of an aha. It's, this is how you access the dark web. So Wikipedia says it's a free overlay network for enabling anonymous communication built on free and open source software and more than 7,000 volunteer-operated relays worldwide. Users can have their internet traffic routed via a random path throughout the network. And I guess it's like the Onion is that you can be at different levels or layers within that network, which provides anonymity? Question mark?
That's my question, because I read something recently, Casey, that said that it's actually like not as anonymizing as people like to think that it is. And I was curious your take on that as an IT security professional.
Well, honestly, I don't have a whole lot of experience with the Tor networks. I haven't been on them a whole lot. I mean, I've been on them before, checked them out, that kind of stuff. There's anonymity, but you're not like encrypted anonymity. You're more obscured because you're bouncing across different networks and i.e. the layers
but the
of
stuff
the onion
being transmitted is not being
it could be if they set it up like that with the website and stuff. It's not like that by default. There's some in there, but it's a lot of it is because of that decentralized idea of the network, because a typical internet network, you go from point A to point B and that branches off to point C and D, whereas this you hit and then you're kind of directed out randomly from there, so it's harder to trace back. to identify you that way. That's one of the biggest factors.
Now, can you explain to me why my company's firewall slows my home internet down when I'm on my computer? I'm just kidding. I actually know the answer to that, and it makes me
Because
angry.
their VPN sucks.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate it. All right, thank you, Casey. That's
You're
Tech
welcome.
Talk with Casey. John, tell us about this movie, please. Red Rooms.
Red Rooms.
This movie, John, French, much like your friend Eric, is French Canadian.
Wait, my friend, Eric? Are you referring to yourself in the third
I'm
person?
25% French Canadian.
Oh, yes. Cool. Well, I was going to say something in French, but I got nothing for you. Red Rooms. I actually thought this was like a French film, so it took me a second. There was like a reference to Montreal, and then I was like, Canadian. Les Chambres Rouges. Is that how you say it, Eric, with your heritage?
I don't speak French, John.
Oh, all right. Well,
It's not like genetic.
Ariel, I was.
Oh God,
Casey's
no.
not going to help. I don't think. All right.
Yeah, I took Spanish. Sorry.
Yeah, me too.
So this is. I was looking
Me
at his
gusta
IMDb
la
page.
playa.
I was looking at his IMDb page. Pascal Plante is the writer-director here. It looked like his maybe fourth full-length feature, bunch of shorts, bunch of music video work. I took a quick look at some of the other movies, definitely in a similar vein. We'll just address this up front. Is this a horror movie? It's on Shudder. So
That's
take
about
it
all
up
I
with
got
the Shudder
too.
people.
Yeah.
Look,
Fair.
I'm happy to defend this as a horror movie later in the review here. But this is I guess we should call it a psychological drama / thriller, primarily centered on a trial taking place in Montreal of a guy, Ludovic Chevalier, who is accused of killing and
Could not
broadcasting.
have picked a more French name.
Yeah.
Chevalier.
I mean, all the names are pretty French, but so Ludovic is accused of killing 3 young women, 16, 14, and 13, and essentially broadcasting the killings in these red rooms. I mean, the name of the film comes from this idea of a red room, which, has existed for a long time. We've probably talked about it in other films we've covered over the years, but this is like a snuff film, but in live broadcast. And so he's kidnapped these girls. He's killed them in super gruesome ways. It's interesting when I say the film is centered on the trial. A lot of the film takes place in the courtroom. So this is in some ways a courtroom drama. The main character here is a woman named Kellyanne. Kellyanne is a model. I guess like that's what you would describe as her career. She's also like a super hacker and can break into houses very effectively. She is a poker player. Like she wins, like she lives this like very strange life, and we're with her. She is the main character. Like we live her life with her. She has a very sort of fancy, but small apartment. That's primary feature is that it has very good internet, I would say. I don't know if you all had that, were jealous of that situation. But she's, she does these modeling shoots. She's doing internet, dark webby stuff, playing poker and winning a lot of money, apparently. And then she's just at this trial. In fact, the very first scene of the film, she's sleeping outside of the courthouse so that she can be sure she's going to get access to the courthouse, into the courtroom, that is. A big chunk of the film, she has a friend. The friend's name, Clementine. Clem is like sort of the opposite of her in a lot of ways, like sort of not technically savvy, is deeply in love with Ludovic, and so has also come to watch this trial, believes passionately that he is innocent. And so, a lot of the trial sort of like hinges on the two of them, their relationship to the killer, who never speaks. He's in this glass box the whole time. And what is left very much inscrutable, I would say almost entirely through the film to the end, is Kellyanne and her motives and sort of like what's driving her and her, I mean, not just her motives, but her motivations as a person, as a character. That's what the drama of the film hinges on. And yeah, it gets slightly darker and more action packed toward the end, but just slightly. So,
All right, Ariel, what'd you think?
Okay, so I sort of have a sense that maybe everybody didn't like this movie, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I actually did. There are parts of it that didn't totally work for me, but it felt a little bit like if you took Anatomy of a Fall and like mixed it with Unfriended Dark Web or like Mr. Robot or something. And that really worked for me. I love a courtroom drama, and I think this one was really interesting because a lot of the sort of unsettling, chilling, kind of tense part of this comes from the fact that you are watching this not through like a normal perspective. So like normally in a courtroom drama, we'd be following like the prosecutor or the investigator or the defense or maybe the killer. But here we're following the perspective of a spectator instead. And like you were saying, John, her motivations, her personality, a lot of her life is like completely opaque to us. And so you don't really know how she's going to handle different situations. And so for me, that felt really like kind of edge of your seat tense. And I really like that part of it. I also think that I expected, like, I went into this completely blind. I'd never heard of the movie before. I didn't even read a synopsis before I hit play. So I didn't know what it was about. And when I figured out that there was like a serial killer element, I got excited, but I was also worried because of like the Frenchness of it, that it might be extremely brutal.
I thought you were just against French serial killers.
I mean,
generally.
that too, you know. But it really isn't. I mean, I think the horror of this comes from the fact that you're hearing violence happening and you're seeing like glimmers of, like you see a little bit of like a bloody room or a piece of a jaw, but that's about it. You're mostly just like hearing the violence, and to me that was like disturbing alone because my imagination kind of ran wild with it, I think. So I think that this movie is a little bit maybe too long, and I don't totally know that I understood 100% of what was happening towards the end of the movie, like why things were happening, not what happened. But I ended up liking it. So I don't know.
Casey.
So, to be honest, I actually kind of liked it too by the end of
good.
it. I struggled with this at the beginning, the idea, this is a very slow movie, and it is largely, probably 80% takes place in this courtroom. It can be a little sleepy, but if you're in the mood for a slow burn, I think it works. But it's definitely takes your full attention to be able to keep along with what's going on and watching to see what's unfolds. Excuse me. But it works, and it's fairly captivating story as we start getting into the details of what had happened with these crimes and stuff like that. I am thankful they didn't show the crimes or the videos. It would be super easy for somebody to go gonzo on the gore and something like this, but with the subject matter, I'm kind of glad they didn't. I thought they handled it very well to make it effective, like Ariel was saying too, because you still get that sound effect and everything, and it's a good effect for that. I really got into this with the dark web aspect of it as we start getting into like the auctions and stuff like that and going on and watching our main character start to unravel. That was the most fascinating part of this to me, when Clementine finally decided, you know what, I'm out. This is too much for me, after she watched the videos. And then you see how bad it was. Because up to that point, Clementine was the one that was like, oh, this girl is over the edge. This is weird. And then it tilts over and she is not that person anymore. And I think that's when this movie starts to pick up. But again, I liked watching that unravel just to see the effects that this had on this main character's life and everything that she put into it. There was always some nice twists and turns and surprises that came out of her, like finding out, though, she's actually a big-time model. She just happens to be sleeping out in the alley behind the courthouse because she wants to. That kind of thing. So, in the end, effectively, I was into it. I don't understand exactly what the point of the movie is, though. Like to what Ariel was saying. I liked what I watched. I liked what unfolded, but I don't know the point of it.
Eric.
John.
So I finished watching this like 10 minutes ago. So let's
Same.
caveat there.
Yeah.
I knew a little bit about this movie because it was actually this was like when we were cramming for best of at the end of the year, people had flagged this as a sort of best of potential. It made a couple of the like patron vote lists. I don't know if anyone had it on their list for the sort of staff votes. And so I was like trying to get to it, and it just like whatever, it ended up falling off. I like this as well. Ariel, I was upset only insofar as you stole the idea, not the idea, but the Anatomy of a Fall thing. Like it's a super interesting film to kind of put with that. I mean, that movie was nominated for Best Picture. Like it's like it's different in some ways, but similar in other ways. And there, obviously, the main character is. It's just like it's not the same. I don't want to make it seem like, but they are both using, to your point, the sort of mechanics of courtroom drama to like push and challenge the viewers in different ways.
Yeah, and the courtroom drama aspect felt similar, even in the way it was filmed a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. There's like a naturalism to it. Look, okay, just to touch on that quickly. There are some fucking shots in this movie that are 5 minutes long. Yeah. So I don't know if you guys clocked it. That opening, when the opening statements of the two lawyers, I think there wasn't a cut for the entire thing. I mean, it might have been like up to 9
I don't think it
was.
was.
Wasn't. Yeah. It was really cool.
There's some really interesting cinematography choices being made, and sort of just pacing and structure, editing, like from a direction standpoint, I really appreciated what was happening, even if look, I agree, it's probably a little long. Like you could nip and tuck it, but like this thing has a feel, and I felt like the director was delivering what he wanted to deliver. So, hat tip there. The other piece I was going to say, I think this main actress is incredible. I mean, just like captivating to watch. And like some of that is that she's like a model and very attractive, like she's like pleasant to look at, but they also play with her appearance throughout the film, both when we see her like performing her modeling and then how she sort of like shows up in the world in different settings. And then all the way through this fascination that she has with one of the victims that sort of accelerates toward, what is effectively the climax of the film. I'm processing it. I have like theories, I guess I would say. I mean, and like the film offers like a pretty definitive conclusion. Like we know what happened. Her motivations, I think, are still the thing that I gotta completely piece through. But I don't know. I liked it much more than I was expecting to like it, given, because Eric, you were texting about this, like how it started. I was like, oh boy, this could be a real slog.
For a hot minute there, I thought we were never leaving the courtroom, and I was like, kill me now. Just kill me. Listen, I think to be fair, we're just going to say, like, this is not an Eric movie. Let's just say that. Like, you guys know I'm not at risk of being called a rube by the internet, John.
Oh, please.
I'm not the biggest fan of subtitles. However, I think back on a movie like, I don't remember the name of it, but what was the movie we watched a couple months ago? It was a period piece in like Germany. I'm being serious, John.
No.
It was a period piece in Germany with this woman who kills the kid so she can be killed and go to heaven or whatever.
Yeah, the Veronica Franz, Severin Fiala movie that I can't remember the name.
That's a movie with subtitles. That's a slow burn. But it's like, I am capable of liking a movie with subtitles.
The Devil's Bath. That was that.
Yeah,
The Devil's Bath. Incredible movie. Honestly, so like would have made my top 10 list if we had caught that in time. So I am capable of enjoying a movie with subtitles. I just found this interminably boring, like very uncompelling, borderline pretentious. To Casey's point, I don't know what the point is. It feels like a kind of rumination on true crime obsession. And like, I think it's really pointedly showing us the intersection between pop culture, true crime fandom, and the real life people it impacts. We see this over and over with like the mom being in the courtroom and stuff. But that said, like the main character, it is impossible to tell what her motives are until 30 seconds before the movie ends. I do agree that she gives a pretty compelling performance, but I just think the character is so aloof and disconnected. I'm just like, who are you? Why do I give a shit? At least when Squirrely Girl is around, she's interesting. Like they're
Yeah.
But what the hell, you know, she is clearly a cautionary tale, right? Of somebody who's kind of lost their way and then gets too close to the flame and realizes the errors of her ways. Like I get that character to an extent more. There is a killer piece of music that plays over the opening of this movie and the ending of this movie, and it was by far my favorite part of the whole thing.
I leave it to Eric to clock though, like
it was whatever it was, because it was like heavy, it was like organ.
I know exactly what you mean.
Orchestral, like it was such a good scene setter. And then 20 minutes in the courtroom, and I was like, I'm fucking out. I'm done. The goodwill you had with the music is gone. I did enjoy this final-ish, this penultimate scene with the bidding war on the tape. Although I was like, I don't understand what the fuck. Why is she doing? Like, her motivations are just so lost to me in this whole part. But that scene really is the only tension in the whole movie to me. She's gambling. She's trying to get her Bitcoin so she can bid on the thing. I thought, I've never been on the dark web, but the whole presentation of the online stuff feels
your
authentic.
VPN blocked you from the dark web.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
The whole presentation of this stuff though is really compelling and doesn't feel cheesy or fake looking. And so I think like you feel like they've done research and you're kind of getting some insight onto what this shit looks like. I did Google it. She spent about $90,000 in Bitcoin.
Yeah, I Googled it too.
Way more than that.
I don't know. In today dollars, it told me it was 90,000 something.
Yeah,
she spent 21 Bitcoin. And Bitcoin trades at like $79,000 right now. So it's a lot. It's like it was more like $1 million.
The internet says $91,000 when you Google it. I'm just
that's for one Bitcoin.
No, it just says that for 21 BTC.
Oh, I'm sorry. No. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
it is one.
I'm like, I don't follow it that closely, but like,
okay, we're gonna figure it out. How much?
It was over $100,000 for a little while, and then
21 times 91,000 equals $1,911,000.
That makes more sense.
So there you go. Yeah. I don't get this movie. I think it's very boring, and that's my take. I also think anyone who doesn't generally agree with an Eric take should take that with a grain of salt, because it's just one of those Eric days. It's just where I'm at.
Yeah, I could see a universe where you caught this at a different time and place, and it might hit you different. I honestly think
line, it is fascinating. That line between pretentious and deep is so thin sometimes. Yeah, and a lot of it comes down to like purpose and message and meaning and not being too heavy-handed, but there's got to be something there. And that is kind of the part I'm missing, because through the whole film, I could not clock what any of her motivation was until the end, when she gives evidence over to convict the guy. Like, I'm not even sure I understood what the hell she was doing.
Yeah. Well, to your point, I spent a large chunk of this movie until we found out that she was a model, so she's only doing like photo shoots at certain times of the week and stuff like that. My first thought was how is she doing this, etc. And then as you start to see her getting more and more obsessed and letting her stuff from her real life go away, is when it really sunk in that this is more about the obsessive side of that can take over. Is at least what it felt like, as she gave up everything, lost everything because of this. But it's just weird.
She like I do think. I mean, Eric, you said there's a bit of commentary on obsession generally. There's the true crime piece. You said sort of like true
It
crime
is
and
a little
pop culture.
bit. Go ahead.
Well, I actually don't know. This doesn't really engage the pop culture stuff. Right? It's not
Well,
like we see her listening to true
I'm
crime
thinking,
podcasts or anything.
I'm thinking,
Yeah.
right. They don't hone in on the podcast stuff specifically, which is interesting because it feels very clearly influenced by that kind of scene. When I say pop culture, I'm thinking more of this TV show, which, by the way, the wine glasses piss me off so much. I'm like, I get it. You're fucking French. Like, fucking relax. That whole show was so stupid. That whole scene was just ridiculous. But in some ways, this story is like a true crime fan wet dream that then turns into like well, it's a cautionary tale for one character. Really, in the end, this true crime obsessive is like the fucking hero that cracks the case, which to me is the wet dream of every true crime obsessed person.
Yeah.
It's not that's not my thing, so I don't know if I'm supposed to relate to that or not, but I don't.
Well, here's the question: is that what she was doing from the beginning?
It's unclear to
was,
me.
Was she trying to get to that point from the very beginning?
Because
I
really,
Or
when
was
she's
she
watching,
just obsessed.
no, I agree. Because when she's watching the video, it's like she's in ecstasy. Then it almost seems like maybe after that she has a moral moment and makes that decision, but she doesn't.
No, I think it's
we don't
gotta have been
see
before
it.
that. Yeah, I mean, there's this scene where they're on like the subway together, and she's telling Clem about how she plays online poker, right, and what she likes about it. And one of the things she says is something along the lines of, "I'd like to watch everyone lose." And that I kind of felt like was some of her
Interesting.
motivation. Like, because if you think about it, even giving this evidence over to the mom isn't really that much of a kindness in a lot of ways, right?
Well,
One,
she
it
also leaves
forces-
doesn't she leave a scalpel? Is that what that was?
No, it
No,
was the
that was-
thumb drive.
it was the thumb
thing.
drive, yeah.
Oh, the thumb drive. Okay, yeah. Okay, it was dark. I
But by
couldn't see
not
it.
telling her what it is, right, the mom's probably got to see that, engage with this content that, of her daughter being murdered.
Yeah. Also, did you need to go in the house and leave it in her bedroom? Probably not.
No,
Yeah.
probably not.
Unnecessary.
And her like dressing up like the daughter and freaking out the mom. And also the killer ends up going to jail or to prison for the rest of his life or whatever. So I think in that everybody loses, right? I mean, even Clem loses because she ultimately shows her those tapes.
Yeah.
It
so
like loses her soul and humanity and
Yeah.
whatever she had in the process. Yeah.
my read's a little different, only insofar as, I guess for me, the pivotal scene is when she dresses up like the daughter and goes into the courtroom. I don't know.
Explain- I didn't get
well,
that scene.
I think she's doing it to get a reaction out of the killer. And I think at that point, she isn't sure which way to go. Like, she's representing to Clem that she believes he's innocent. She never actually says that. Clem just assumes that throughout her interaction. She assumes that she's like a groupie like she is. Clem assumes that. My read was like that's sort of dressing up like the daughter, and this she's obsessed clearly with the case, but she realizes in his response to the daughter, because he like looks at her and he gives her the wave,
Yeah.
and to me that's where she's like decides, okay, I'm gonna go. And it was like, because she was engaging with that group that had the Camille video, but she doesn't say she's ready until after she has that moment with him. It's also where her modeling career falls apart. So she's at like the deepest part of the consequences of her obsession. But that's when she says she's ready. She sort of like goes through all of the steps to get into the Camille auction, gets that video. She watches it, has this sort of emotional response. She then dresses up like the daughter again, goes in and takes a picture in the daughter's bedroom before she leaves the thumb drive.
Yeah, wait. So when she's showing Clem those videos, it's clear that she knows he's guilty, right? Because she's like, look at his eyes. You can hear him, like you can see him. He comes and looks right at the camera. It seemed to me that she already knew he was guilty. So do you think when she went into that courthouse, then dressed up like the daughter, it wasn't so much to get him to show her that he's either guilty or innocent, but maybe just to see how disturbed he was, or to crystallize an idea for her about whether she wanted to, upend his trial.
I don't know.
Or not.
I was still like, you're right. Like when she shows Clem, and based on Clem's response, like you sort of assume that it's like more obvious once you've seen the videos that he is actually guilty. But I was still a little, I felt like she might still be a little ambivalent on how to play it. But then that's when she basically is like, I'll use my powers for good. The power of playing poker for Bitcoin and using the dark web and breaking into this house. I
definitely got the feeling that was her big drive, like with the auction, is because she wanted to have it so the other sickos couldn't have it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But then why watch it?
Right. You already know what it's about. You don't necessarily need to see it.
I know, but it did seem like she was taking some kind of perverse pleasure in watching it too, because just her facial expression when she's watching it with Clem. Yeah,
that comes as part of the obsession. Though. At that point, she'd gone fully over to a mild obsession to a full blown obsession. I think you could say, and I think that Clementine scene is a key part.
It's interesting because I feel like with Clem, like the motivations are so much clearer, and there is, like you guys were saying, this conversation happening about like toxic fandom and obsession with serial killers, and I think for Clem too. It's interesting because there is this kind of like paradox of safety with somebody is going to be like convicted of a crime, right? You can obsess over this guy, imagine a romantic relationship with you and with him, but like he can never actually hurt you physically, emotionally, or anything. But with Kellyanne, it's like it's much more confusing. And every time I sort of felt like I, towards the end, had a grasp on like what her motivation was or why she was doing it, something would happen that would make me feel uncertain again.
Do you think there was any more motivation to Kellyanne taking Clem in, inviting her to stay at her apartment and stuff like that, other than just kindred spirits from them meeting briefly, or did she have more?
I don't even think they were kindred spirits.
No, not really.
Yeah.
I think she was. There's a little bit of like boredom, or even like feelings, like pathos, like sad. Like she's like sad. I mean, look, the Clem character, it's dark.
Yeah.
And this,
is
just a quick aside, like that poor actress. Can you imagine you're reading the script and you're like, oh, so one of these characters is a model, and one of them is basically a homeless person who has like terrible bags under her eyes the whole time. I'm sure she's like a perfectly, like pleasant looking young woman. And
the only description just says has crazy eyes.
Yeah, like her agent sends her the script and she's like, oh, which one am I? You're like, well,
you're the weird one.
How do you feel about Clem? I don't know.
Yeah, but it's nice that, I mean, that scene though with when after Clem watches those movies or those videos, I like that one a lot because it's Clem at that point is your typical person that we see now in real life that falls in love with those serial killers, and like the lady that wanted to marry Charles Manson when he was on death row, etc. She was clearly that type of obsessive to a T, and so then you get that juxtaposition of what a real obsessive will go to beyond that point.
Yeah, I kind of wondered sometimes if their friendship wasn't also just about like a loneliness thing, because we keep getting this like juxtaposition between the killer who we keep seeing in this like glass box in the courtroom cut off from everybody, and then her in this like glass box of an apartment.
Yeah, exactly.
100%. That I think that's a part of it, and I think that's it's mingled with the obsession, right? Like, part of her obsession is based on, I mean, she's self-sequestering to a certain extent. It's not like she could be around other people, but she is, I don't know. And that, whatever, there's a whole, obviously, like modern life engenders loneliness.
Yeah.
Terrible for the loneliness, I think. Is what,
I mean, and during this conversation, it's important to point out that she's sleeping in these alleyways and doing this for this court just so she can get in the audience.
Yeah.
At the start of the trial. She's not a juror or anything like that. She's not in the trial.
No.
Yeah. John, I was going to ask you, since you went to an Ivy League university, did you get anything?
You did. It's true.
Did you get anything from her like username?
Oh, know. Did you?
Well, because it's Lady of Shalotts, which is like the name of I think it's a Tennyson poem or something. I had to read it in school, but I don't.
Oh no! I mean,
sure
now that
exactly
you
what
say
the-
that,
Ariel, more worldly than John.
No,
Heard it here first.
No, it's. I mean, look, like
I was just
and
like,
I
wow,
love
she
shit
really
like
likes shallots.
I was gonna say she likes onions.
that. Well, some of the other,
It's nice. It's like an understated flavor. You know what I mean? If you don't want like a full onion, you get a
Right.
shallot. It's nice.
Some of the other usernames were less, erudite, let's say. So, yeah. No, I did. I mean, I clocked. And that's the kind of shit I usually love to like look up, and I just had not. I didn't get a chance.
Couldn't find the white gloves.
No,
Yeah, I
unfortunately.
get it.
So Eric, how you feeling? Better now? Better?
think that's
worse?
it.
You're gonna give this a rewatch.
I got
next week,
nothing.
I have a feeling.
Sorry, guys.
It's
a
gonna
long
pop
one
up
him
for
to give a
you.
rewatch,
Did
too.
not care for it.
It's gonna pop up for you on Shutter TV one of these days, and you're gonna.
I don't even watch Shutter TV anymore since they really kind of got rid of all the channels they had, which is weird.
The only
But
I
they
watch it
weren't curating
sometimes-
them well anyway, so like.
Well, when you open the app both on my TV and on the computer,
Yeah,
it
let's
doesn't
go.
do this on the app on the phone, but it starts playing something.
Yeah,
So
that's
I'll,
the same
like, sit and
channel
watch
that
stuff.
Joe Bob plays on.
yeah. So
So when you go, when you go on PC now on desktop, you just get one channel.
yeah,
You used to have
it's-
3,
Oh yeah, it's only the one that I've ever seen.
and they couldn't curate one well. So I'm in a mood tonight. All right, would you recommend this, Ariel?
Yeah, I would, but know that you're in for like a long movie that does move slowly. So if that's not your thing, you're probably gonna hate it, like Eric.
Casey,
Yes, a rainy Sunday movie.
John,
I'm also a yes.
I'm a no. I desperately want those 2 hours of my life back. So
You don't say.
it's a no for me, dog. All right, let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
Send feedback to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or on Twitter using hashtag AskBGH. Join Patreon to get back episodes and much more. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror.
And we're back. Oh, Casey's gone. I was gonna say something to Casey, and he's disappeared. Fine.
He's on the dark web. He'll be-
YouTube
surface.
chat is hopping tonight. Shout out to everyone hanging out. There was a comment that made me laugh here, and now I can't find. Oh, here we go. I knew John in Tights was going to get Eric riled up.
That's what I'm here for.
Let's see. From Jace, I loved the opening statement by the prosecutor. Completely hooked me in.
Me too.
We had opposite reactions to that, sir. Liz, oh God, not Bitcoin math. And Rachel, because we know she loves to take part. I'm in lockstep with John on this one. I was mystified with their motivation in the end, but in a compelling, if frustrating way.
Yeah, that seems about right.
There you
I'm
go.
honestly surprised. I really thought that I was going to come here and everybody was going to hate it. So I'm pleasantly surprised that you guys liked it.
So here's one last take here. From Jace, I agree. Clem is certain he's innocent. Kellyanne had seen the videos and knew he wasn't. The comment about her liking to watch people lose at poker also speaks to her motivations with Clementine.
Yeah.
That's
So
true.
she was kind of playing with her, is what I'm getting
Yeah.
from
I mean, I
that.
think that's what she does with everybody. I think she makes sure everybody loses.
So
Kind
all right.
of suck the life out of her, so to speak.
Yeah.
I buy it. I'm here for it. I can get behind this. Then the question is, why does she blow up her whole life if she sort of like has the power to solve this without
That's a fair point.
like living at that level of obsession? So in any
Yeah.
event, but you
no,
know, so-
you're right. The theory falls apart a little bit.
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
it's gotta be, it's gotta be massaged a little. So.
Casey, I got a problem lately I think you might relate to.
Uh-oh.
I've been buying hats.
Oh, nice.
almost to the point where I'm like, I can't wear all these hats. I need to put something to put them on.
That is a
Like,
problem
yeah.
Rachel would understand as well.
Display them.
Yeah.
Different kind
I
of
got that
hats.
problem,
but
too.
Yeah. I'm not buying like fancy derby hats or anything. But yeah,
Not yet.
not yet.
I could send you a good hook on Amazon, Eric.
I got a couple of Bills hats and I just bought a Wayland Utani hat today that I
Oh,
that I
nice.
liked. All right. No emails. What do we got on the old threads?
We got a couple questions out here, one or two. First one up comes from the drummer from Foghat. How does everyone feel about Walmart buying the Monroeville Mall?
Didn't even
To
know.
I
turn
don't
it
know.
into a super Walmart, presumably.
They're doing something. Yeah, I don't believe they're keeping it. I think they're tearing it down. Was the
Yeah,
vibe I
okay.
got. I mean, that's an old ass 70s
it was an
mall.
old mall.
I mean, sad for horror history, but like, it is what it is, dude. Like, I've always thought it'd be cool to go. They do those Days of the Dead conventions there, but
Ooh,
like,
yeah.
I've never been compelled enough to go to one. I'm within driving distance of Pennsylvania, so
Yeah,
I don't know.
I was gonna
There's
say
a lot
it's
going on
sad.
in the world right now. The destruction of the Monroeville Mall is not that high in my list of concerns, although I get it. I get it, but like the destruction of democracy is like one right
yeah,
now.
Yeah.
fair point.
Monroeville Mall is at least 3 or 4.
If
on
they
my
were
list.
selling the Monroeville Mall to Russia, Eric would be
Yeah.
a little more upset.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's sad, but I think it's been properly honored. Especially these like last 10 years. There's been, like Eric said,
It's been a long
conventions
time,
and all
yeah, where
sorts
the
of stuff.
owners have really embraced it. All those OG fans have really had a chance if they really wanted to get out there and
Yep.
Yeah.
I
think
did-
it's sad anytime like Walmart just like bulldozes
Yeah.
things.
It
But
sucks. It's Walmart.
one of my favorite convention memories was meeting Galen Ross who's in Dawn of the Dead, and I got her to sign my Creepshow poster because she's in Something to Tide You Over with Ted Danson. She's the woman that gets like buried. So she's very nice, very
Yeah.
cool. A million years ago at Monster Hill or Fango or something, somewhere down in New York City, down your neck of the woods, John.
The old neck of the woods. Yeah. They don't really do
All right.
horror cons here in the city. That's a bit.
No, they're usually in Cherry Hill.
Yeah.
Or like, I
Yeah.
swear I went to one. No, Cherry Hill.
Well, that's
where you're
where,
going,
dude. That's
yeah.
where I'm going to be next week. So,
Do you want to tell people to come meet
no,
you?
we'll talk about it next week.
Okay.
All right, next up,
Mysterious.
Popcorn Dot Designs. As an elder millennial, I feel like some of us saw some gnarly shit growing up in the Wild West early days of the internet. Anyone else watch stuff they wish they hadn't on sites like Rotten and Ogrish back in the day? No, just me?
early days. Like I was just talking about this earlier. 2001, 2. Like when I first got a real internet connection, Rotten.com was definitely the thing.
Oh yeah,
There
was some morbid curiosity, but there's only so much. Like that was like a scroll, 1 or 2 scrolls down the page, and I was good.
It was just the Wild
Yeah.
West, dude. And like it was just like humans being exposed to the shit like that, like at a volume for the first time, and it was just hard to resist for most people. I have
yeah.
this very kind of seminal memory of sitting at night, was watching TV by myself in the dark. I was watching like something on like CBS or something, and then the news is 2007, I guess, or 6. News cuts in. They've captured Saddam Hussein. Oh, but guess what? Like before they could really pull him in, they hung him. The like locals did. You know what I did for the first time ever? I went to Twitter. Or no, I went to YouTube, which was brand new. I Googled it or like searched it in YouTube. Watch that shit. That I just remember being like a wild moment of like to be able to have that immediate A to B to C.
Yeah.
I still think about how crazy that shit was. And now that's just reality. Like that just is our lives now. But at the time I remember that feeling really crazy. It was probably 2006. It was probably like just launched.
Yeah, I remember that moment. I probably watched that as well. I don't really remember seeing other stuff that like I didn't want to see, but you know, it was if you were knocking around, you just had to know.
I
where
never
not to
watched
go
any of the
look.
beheading
Yeah.
videos.
Yeah,
I
no,
did kind of draw the line at
Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
Well, see, back in those days, and like even before that, I would check out like Rotten and Ogrish and stuff too. But I was also
I've never
big
heard of that
into
other one you're saying.
I've been big. I was big into the Something Awful forums, which is where like Photoshop Friday and stuff comes from. But a lot of that stuff would wind up in there too.
Yeah. No thanks.
What a time we've lived through.
Indeed. That's it for Threads.
But everything worked out great with the internet, so
It's going great. Yeah, it hasn't
Yeah.
destabilized anything.
No
Everything's
problem.
fine.
no.
Everybody's normal, believes
Yeah.
normal shit. Yeah, that's really cool. That's cool.
But head over to the dark
Um,
web, and it'll be like the '90s all over again.
All right. From from Teddy Kruger. Talk about the most boring movie with the most disturbing scene. The courtroom scene. You're gonna have to be more specific, sir, because that's like 3/4 of the movie. Here's a good one from Blob Nelson. Have you ever served on a jury?
No.
I was like I had 3-day jury duty and like got pulled into 2 different rooms to be questioned as potential jurors.
Yeah.
And dodged the bullet. And one, the judge was like being pretty nasty with me because I was like obviously trying to avoid being on the jury.
Yeah.
You know, but
I was called in once when I lived in Suffolk County, and they put you in a like downtown Boston. They put you in a room. You sit there basically all day, and multiple cases come up, and then the people get a chance to settle. This must have just been civil shit.
Yeah.
And then if they don't, then they pull people in to be a jury. I sat there for 6 hours, had snacks, listened to music, and then they just let me go, and that was it. And then I was fulfilled my thing. But I always say this: they do have in the Suffolk County courthouse. I've told this story 100 times in the show, but they have a cool display about Lizzie Borden because that was the county that she lived in, and she was the first woman in the U.S. to be tried for murder or something
that's
along those
cool.
lines. So
my dad I was on the phone with him, and he got like federal jury duty, or like, you know,
Oh, shit.
he's got to go like down to Philly to the big courthouse. And he was like all pissed off. I'm like, Dad, you fucking sit on the couch 60% of the time. Like, what are you
this
doing?
is
Like,
this is a day. Yeah, you'll
Yes.
enjoy yourself.
I would
Yeah.
I would 100% be down for it if it was not like a disturbance to my
I just
professional
gave
slash
in and
family
had to
stuff.
register for it here
Yeah.
in New York. I feel like
Well,
a
if you
decade
vote,
ago,
you have it, right? It like auto registers.
that maybe that's what.
Yeah.
Well, no, but they needed me to fill out a survey or something.
Yeah.
I remember being on call for jury duty like 10 years ago in New York and never got called or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not very exciting,
Interesting.
but
Yeah, I've never been on a jury before. I did the student newspaper where Rachel and I met. That college had a grade sale scandal where people like students broke a lot of laws. So I got to cover like one of their criminal trials, and that was fascinating.
Oh, that's cool.
But it was like 8 hours a day in a courtroom for a week. You know.
I mean, a week's not that bad. At least it
No.
wasn't like a, red room situation. They're like, you're going to be here for
Months, yeah.
2 months. You're like,
last thing.
I've been summoned for jury duty once since I moved to Noblesville. I've been here like 21 years now.
Oh, that's crazy.
I got all the way into the courtroom. Their judge is reading off the rules and stuff, but I was like number 16 out of the 12. So
I
didn't
wonder
make
if-
the cut. But Delaney's been summoned. I've been summoned once in 20 years. Delaney, as soon as she turned 18, registered to vote, she's been summoned 4 times.
Jeez.
I wonder if I could get out of it because of my job. Now that I think about it.
Yeah.
No.
no. If you're like a fireman, maybe. And even then, they'll be like,
Well, no,
how
but I
many
mean
firemen?
because of like the
Suppressed.
potential for bias or something.
It just depends on the case. And they'll ask you, the first thing they ask you is like, can you be unbiased in this situation?
Just be like, have you met me? I'm unbiased about
well,
everything.
yeah, exactly.
All right, last comment of the night. This made me laugh. From Richard. Kanye saying George Bush doesn't care about black people was the first thing I looked up on YouTube. This made me laugh because I was thinking about this the other night. How quaint does that moment seem
No
now?
kidding.
In
I know.
hindsight? Like that was
Compared to
so
the-
controversial, and it's like
Ooh,
that was fucking nothing.
no.
Hang out
Oh,
15
yeah.
years.
you could just follow the trajectory of shit Kanye said.
Yes.
And it's like
Yeah.
it's disintegration of society. I mean, he's
Yeah.
also probably got like extreme mental illness, but yeah, no.
100%.
So
All right. Well, that's it. Do we know what we're doing next week?
No.
Sinners was supposed to be coming out, but you know what? I think it got pushed. So
Please don't make me read a subtitle next week.
Sinners.
Sinners. We showed my kids Church Lady the other day.
Oh,
Nice.
really? Awesome.
They are like super into SNL now, and all they want to do
Nice.
is watch like old SNL clips on YouTube, which like
I love Church Lady.
we will only do like we have to DJ it. That's the only way we'll do it. I can't like give them unfettered access.
No,
Yeah,
you gotta.
I know.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Do you let them watch Mary Catherine Gallagher Superstar?
Oh yeah. They've seen a lot of that. Those are good.
What about like
Cheerleaders,
Caveman Lawyer? That was always a favorite of mine. As a
one of
kid.
my Toonces is like my other favorite,
That's
which
true.
Yeah.
very similar time frame there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When are we in the theater next? Is my big question, John. Do you have
It
a
looks like
feeling
it's
for
gonna
that?
be 3-4 weeks, I think.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll that. I will say
well,
for any.
This movie Opus comes out on the 14th. That's the Ayo Edebiri A24 thing.
Okay. I don't
I
know
don't think
those
I've seen a
words.
trailer
but-
for that one.
I haven't
I
either,
think-
but I've heard enough.
Eric, I thought you pinged us about it, but
Did you see that Alex Garland has like an Iraq War movie coming out?
yeah,
This dude
I
is
saw the
going
trailer.
through some shit.
The
Like,
trailer's fucking wild.
Why does Alex Garland want to give me PTSD? That's what I want to know. Like,
Yeah, he kind of makes movies designed for that, I feel like.
Well, he wrote the new 28 Years movie too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Because he wrote the original, I think.
Yeah,
right? I
he
mean, unless
did.
I'm- Yeah, so
love it. It's anybody who's interested too. We were noticing that Hard Eyes is you can get it on demand now. You can rent it. It's expensive. It's those like theater rental prices, sort of, but it's out there.
did we not do our capsule review? We didn't do it.
No, because you guys were gonna wait for me to see it.
Did you ever see it, Eric?
Not yet. No.
Damn, I was hoping you were going to be on my side about this movie.
Oh, I forgot Ariel. Yes.
TBD. Like you're not the only. Like I've had a couple of people tell me that know me well. Like I think you would really like this. So
I think so too.
now I'm
but-
very
Oh my
curious.
God.
But
I'm also
after-
obsessed with like I've got a freaking poster on my wall. What the hell is this movie? Lisa
My
Frankenstein.
Bloody Valentine. Oh, Lisa Frank. Also, rolled
Yeah,
my eyes
which
at that
John
one,
hates.
but-
So like we might end up on different sides. You never know.
I mean, I hope so, because like I love Lisa Frankenstein, but so does Rachel, and she's a hater about Hard Eyes. so.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I know. You know, maybe I'll try to prioritize it this week because I think probably need to weigh in here.
Yeah.
Well, we could cover it this week. I think we have an open. There's no new theatrical this week. We'll have one next week. It looks like so.
Okay.
Might as
we'll
well.
we'll circle back. Let's circle back on this.
Okay.
All right, y'all. Hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget you can get a live streaming video version of the show at patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. And you can also hop on Slack and get back episodes.
Sure can.
We'll talk to you next week.
See yous.
Bye.
Bye-bye.